This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right, everybody, it's time for Mailbag. It's time to get to your emails and your calls, and I'm going to do something a little different tonight. And instead of me just rattling off the emails, I'm going to start with a voicemail and an update over there in Israel. Let's see what's going on.
Hello, Matt. This is Sharon from Israel. Yes! Cody Rhodes is not a tag team champion anymore. I'm sorry. I just need to know that something in my life can be in control. I can't control the war outside my house. I can't control the fact that terrible things happened in my country. So at least the first thing that makes me feel better in my place, that Cody Rhodes lost his championship. And yeah, see LA Knight goes to a match with Roman Reigns. I really love the fact that they are putting some extra light and extra place for LA Knight. He's the real great person in the company right now. Probably much more than the tribal chief that never come around and always like call Roman. This is like his only existence in WWE. That Paul Heyman just saying call Roman, and that's it. Like he's not existing. And sorry, I don't like Seth Rollins anymore. I mean, he's good as a champion, but I hate his outfit so much, and his clothes look so ridiculous, and the fact that everybody sing his song is like, shut up, I know how his music goes, I don't need you to sing it, you are not a zombies, you are real persons, you're not a symphony or something, you're a person, stop thinking. Yeah, two things that I wanted to ask you about your opinion about it. First of all, Crown Jewel's supposed to be in Arab Saudi, and I don't think that it will be there because there will be a war. I hope that the war in Israel won't be any bigger, but maybe they won't take the risk and won't do the Crown Jewel there. So who knows? Second thing, he wanted to ask you if you saw the anti-Semitic angle in AEW that they did with MJF. I'm putting a link in the mail, and you will see an article that deals with the anti-Semitic angle that they did with MJF in AEW, very bad one. And yeah, one last thing, sorry that I'm passing the 3 minutes limit. Can I talk with you? Let me talk to you, yeah. And I mean, can we do like a conversation, maybe an hour or so? Right now I'm not going to the work. And so maybe we can find a time to do a conversation. I can tell you about wrestling, you can tell me about wrestling as well, and I will forget for 1 hour from the weird situation in my country, which will be great escapism for me. Thanks, bye, yeah.
All right, Sharon, a lot of topics here, and if I can help take your mind off things for what the heck's going on over there, which just seems to be getting worse by the day, I'd love to. And even here in the States, I got to say, I mean, we're we're a bit concerned about things escalating into a global war. That if things break the wrong way, it could easily happen. And let's all hope that it's as terrible as it is over there. I mean, it just would obviously get worse if it expands. So let's hope that it doesn't. But if you do want to talk wrestling, let's set up a time. What we can do, because what is the time difference? I should have Googled that. Because obviously the time difference between Israel and New York is a bit different. So let me take a look here. So it looks like you're 7 hours ahead of me. And by the time I record this, usually for you, it is 4:22 in the morning, which, being a father of a young child, you may already be up. Who knows, right? But for me, I record around 9:30 at night, usually. And, 4:30, I'm not asking you to get up at 4:20 in the morning. That's not my request. But I would ask, what is the times that you usually are available? I don't know what if you work or, I don't know anything, about that. So why don't you email me? You don't have to send a voicemail in. You can just email me, and from your time, zone you're in, give me the days and times that you are free, and we can try to link up some way. Even if for one of us it'll be morning, one of us it'll be evening, whatever the case. We'll figure out a time to be able to talk wrestling and maybe a little bit of the current events. Although I don't want to hang on too much of that, because that's the whole purpose of the conversation, is to not think about that. But it's difficult to not bring it up, given that it is the top headline everywhere in the world right now, is what's going on in Israel. So let's figure out a time. We'll email each other and come up with a common time. But let's get to the wrestling stuff. And okay, you got some things here going on. You're happy that Cody is no longer champion. As I said last week, I find humor, but also relate to the fact that with all these awful things going on in the world, the one thing that can bring you joy is that Cody Rhodes is no longer champion. That brings a smile to my face. As far as LA Knight and Roman Reigns, I agree. I'm glad that things are moving forward for LA, but I would be concerned about the fact that he's first in line. And when you're first in line and Roman has got a lot of other competitors that he has not yet faced for the title, that would lead you to believe that there's almost no chance LA Knight wins in Saudi Arabia. Now, to the point and your question of, and people have asked me this too offline, do you think the Saudi Arabia event's still going to go on? And so doing a little research, it doesn't look like it's canceled. It's still going on. And this is according to Dave Meltzer. I know there's a lot of extreme reactions on both ends for Dave Meltzer, whatever you think of him. He is still one of the biggest names in wrestling journalism. Take that for what you will. But he has said that it depends on world events, but they're going to continue with the event unless they're forced not to. So that means they're going forward, unless something is so insane in terms of danger or threats of violence or credible threats of, that kind of thing, that they're going to move forward with the event. And I sense, but the other sense, would it make a little bit more common sense to not hold the event? Sure. But WWE has also invested so much money into these crown jewel Saudi events. I think we all we'll be very happy when these Saudi events just stop. WWE, I think, is maybe halfway through their contract with Saudi. So, but we'll see. And I would think that it's going to go on. Now, I would not attend the event. Even if I had free tickets and a free flight, I wouldn't go. And the reason is pretty obvious, right? Like, you are in a perfect place, like tailor-made for people who want to do harm. I'll leave it at that, right? Like, you're in a place, you're unarmed, you're crammed together, exits are scarce, damage could be maximized. Now, I'm not predicting or hoping, obviously, or thinking any of that will happen. But given the global events, to put yourself willingly in a situation like that is something that I would not do. I'm sure that the event is going to be insanely to the point of excess, armed and guarded by the Saudi police force, if they have police. I don't know. Maybe they call them police. But the government is obviously aware that this event and others like it, any mass gatherings, are high danger given things that are going on. So, I don't think anything will happen, but it is kind of a perfect place for it. It's right now, man. I wouldn't go, but my answer to you is it looks like it's still happening. Now, to other stuff. Seth's outfit, the singing. I feel you. I totally feel you. And I have been over his song for quite a while. His song has, it's fun to sing to. Even when you're live, it's one of those deals that it's fun to play sing along, and it is a catchy tune, but it's at home, you are just over it, right? Like sitting at home, it's too much, and it's done in excess, and Seth encourages it and triggers it. He'll sit there and he'll put into his promos, that, and the people will be singing my song, and then he's like cueing the audience, and it's like, I don't need another 30 seconds of this. Like we know what your song sounds like. I don't know. I know his job is to get the crowd involved, but I hope they realize for the 99% of the people that are actually watching that are at home, we're done with it. It's not fun to listen to anymore. It's just not. And now his outfits, I'm with you. I was never a fan of it. It was just gimmicky to be gimmicky, but I don't know why he's wearing what he's wearing. It's just to be outlandish and different. And I think that's kind of what it is, but it's also obnoxious and pointless in a way, or there's no consistency to it. He's just going to wear ridiculous shoes or, pants or glasses or whatever. Like, but he's doing that. I don't know, to keep things fresh, but there's no meaning. There's no deep meaning behind it at all. That said, when Seth gets serious and he stops cackling, I like that Seth Rollins. That's the Seth Rollins I can get on board with. We saw a little bit of that this week, and I think that is that's a more enjoyable Seth Rollins. I'm not asking Seth Rollins to go dark or even turn heel, although I think in the next year or two Seth will turn heel. There's a distinct possibility of that. But I think Seth Rollins right now is in a good place. I know you're tired of it. I'm a little bit bored with it as well. I think him dropping the belt to Drew is a good move if that happens. So, yeah. All right, well, let's keep moving. And the anti-Semitic angle in AEW, I did not see that. I heard rumblings about the AEW angle. I'll have to take a look at it for myself. I just will say generally, without even me taking a look at it, it's not the time for companies to be trying to profit or piggyback off of events like this. If that's the goal, it's done in just to say it's done in bad taste is not doing it justice. Even when I remember WWE in the early 2000s, when 9/11 happened here in the States, I remember the WWE bringing out a group called the Un-Americans, and I would think it was Christian, Test, and Lance Storm, if I recall correctly. And they were called the Un-Americans, and they even at one point were trying to burn the American flag. And that's actually when Kane re-debuted. I remember that very well. I think it was in Madison Square Garden. And he re-debuted after a long absence and came back with a new music and also came back with a bit of a modified mask, a more revealing, breathable mask. And ended up chokeslamming Test and taking out the Un-Americans. A fun clip, by the way, one of Kane's best returns. His best return, now I know I'm getting way off, guys, but to me, Kane's best return is in 2000 when he takes out all of D-Generation X, part of the, the corporation. It's a amazing return. Check it out. Kane Returns 2000. Just YouTube it. Amazing. Probably his biggest pop he's ever gotten. Also a weird fact about Kane. He, think about this, was only WWE champion for one day during the prime of his career. Think about that. I don't know how I got onto Kane. But, all right. Well, Sharon, listen, stay safe, my friend. As always, I'm sure that is unfortunately at the forefront of your mind, keeping your family safe and yourself safe. Crazy ass times we're living in. You know, I saw something that it was a meme or something on TikTok. You know, that TikTok that wastes hours and hours of all of our lives every day. So, there was something on there that said that we're the only generation to experience, you know, I forget how many global wars, a pandemic, terrorist attacks, like all of these things like listed, and it's just like we're in a very crazy time to live. We can't choose what time frame we live, so I might as well make the best of it. So stay safe, man. We'll be in touch. All right, let's get to some emails. And again, guys, I want to emphasize I'm keeping this to 1 hour. Whatever I get to in this hour is what I get to. Everything else will be either in a part 2 or on the Sunday edition of the show. I just want to clarify that, you know, because I know you guys take the time to call in and write, and it takes time, and I appreciate it. So we will we'll absolutely make time for you. If you didn't hear your email here, then tune in for my next show. All right. So speaking of which, let me get to it and stop rambling. Okay. So let's talk to a patron, Badfish, and he says, "Hey, Matt, I'm on vacation and missed Raw and SmackDown this week because my Canadian subscription app won't let me watch it out of the country. So I just wanted to say congratulations on the 3-year anniversary of the Mailbag. It's become probably my favorite show this podcast puts out because I like hearing from everyone. The Discord is also pretty sweet because I could keep up on SmackDown with the help of everyone there. Hope you have a good weekend. Badfish out." I didn't even know there was a 3-year anniversary. I had no clue. Oh, it's sad. You guys know more about the show than I do. I mean, seriously. So that's quite the referendum on myself. But thank you. And thanks for reminding me. If someone had asked me, you know, how long you been doing this, I would have been like, I don't know, a year or two, you know, but apparently it's been 3. I'll take your word for it. And yeah, the Discord server, guys, if you're not a patron, join, because the Discord server is a fun place to be, to connect with all the other patrons that are passionate about wrestling, and not even necessarily about the show. Like, even if you don't like the show, to just be in a community that you know loves wrestling for $1 a month. I mean, come on, you know, that it's just, there's my awful sales pitch. All right. So, all right. Thank you, Badfish. Let's talk to another patron, and this is Michael, and he says, "So I've been listening for 2 to 3 months now, and I've noticed nobody talking about or remembering that Survivor Series is traditionally a champion versus champion type of PLE. So this year would be a Seth versus Drew or Roman, or I'm sorry, it would be a Seth or Drew versus Roman or LA Knight. Yeah. And therefore leaves no room for a contender to take on Roman for a championship. Also this week," okay, I'll stop there. Yeah, well, I mean, it's tough to say it depends how far back you're talking when you say traditionally, because traditionally, back in the early, again, this is my time in watching wrestling, in the, you know, starting in the late 90s, early 2000s, Survivor Series was it was one of the big 4, and is still considered one of the big 4. But before the champion versus champion thing happened, it was really a normal PLE up until you got to the point of the 5-on-5 traditional, at the time, only the men, 5-on-5 elimination match. That, to me, the tradition of Survivor Series, and then it morphed into ridiculous brand versus brand that lasted way longer than it needed to and was actually uninteresting from a fan perspective. But then, yeah, it did turn into champion versus champion. And I don't know what the theme is this year. Obviously, last year was the War Games match, which I have mixed feelings on, as you guys know. But I don't know what this year is. It seems like every year you're kind of like, what are they going to do? Manufacture a brand for no reason? Is it going to be a normal PLE? Are they going to do War Games again? Is it going to be champion versus champion again for an exhibition PLE? You just never know, you know, so I don't know. Okay, also this week, you and Anthony kind of pay off the Roman Reigns championship run could provide, and personally, to me, it's reached the level of the Undertaker Mania streak. Maybe not in terms of length of time, or in terms of the kind of legendary status it created for itself, but on the level of shock value it'll create when someone finally takes the belt off of him. I can see the same guy in the crowd with his eyes wide open from a feeling of, wow, it finally happened. I appreciate all you guys at the podcast and keep up the good work, Michael. Well, thank you, Michael. And, okay, well, your analogy I have not heard anyone make before. And I'm not saying it's wrong. You're right. It's not in terms of length, but in terms of meaning, what this means. I am of the belief, if you guys listen to Anthony and myself, that it's time for Roman to drop the belt, that at this point there's nothing more that they can gain out of going further. In fact, it detracts the more that they go forward, even though Roman could still have championship matches against up-and-coming talent, which is good to help build stars. Roman's at the point now that if his schedule is this reduced, and it's going to be this reduced for the rest of his career, he doesn't need the belt. He has got so much equity in his name that even working with talent without the belt could still accomplish the same goal as with the belt. So that window, I think Roman Reigns right now with the championship is doing more damage with the championship than they are good. But here's what I'll say. I think the analogy is partially right. Again, my own opinion. I will agree that it is going to be a massive moment when it's dropped. Totally agree on that point. The way I would say that it's not like the Undertaker streak, though, is many people believe the Undertaker streak would never be broken, ever, including myself. And I'd say if you polled people before WrestleMania 30, nobody would have picked Brock Lesnar. Or at least I'd say 80 to 90% of people, maybe higher, would have picked The Undertaker to win that match. And obviously he didn't. And it's till this day, nearly 10 years later, I still believe it was the wrong decision. That said, my point is that the match or the Undertaker streak was something that many people thought would end. Whereas Roman Reigns' title run is something that is going to come to an end. And actually at this point can happen at any moment. So that's the difference. It won't be shock in terms of, oh my God, they actually dropped. Roman Reigns is no longer champion. I never thought that would happen. Of course he's going to lose. You know what I mean? Like that. That's the whole point of this run with Roman is when is he going to drop it? It's not if. That's the Undertaker was more of a if that ever happens. Roman is a when. That's the massive difference between Taker and Roman. But I agree. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a shocking moment, and the people in the audience are going to be watching history. You know? All right. Thank you for the comments. All right. What other patrons? By the way, guys, lots of benefits going on Patreon. Not only do you get an exclusive podcast, if you go and listen to the After Dark show, which is done by Anthony DeMarco, an adult version of this show, but also you get a Discord server. You also get priority placement in the show on this mailbag, which is what you're hearing right now. Everyone I've read so far are patrons of the show. So that is also another big benefit. Where are we going to go next? Let's talk to another patron. Hold on a second. This is a first mailbag. This is from Jaden. Jaden, okay, so here's the thing, Jaden. Thank you for putting in the subject that you are a patron. I appreciate that, and it's your first mailbag. So in your email, Jaden, all I see is an image. You uploaded an image, no text. So if you meant to put text in here, I don't see it. However, the image you're showing me on a podcast, it's obviously just difficult to see. Only I can see it. But have Hulk Hogan on the left side of this image, and you have Roman Reigns on the right side. And this whole thing is based around the stats of their championship runs. And right now, based on today, Hulk Hogan, his title reign lasted 1,474 days. Roman Reigns is at 1,140. Roughly, 300 and change? So a little less than another year Roman would have to go. I think they'll very good chance they'll go there. There's also the date that both of them won, the age in which they first won the championship to start the run, the win-loss record while they were champion. Now, by the way, Roman Reigns is 28 wins, 0 losses, and 1 tie, or 1 Broadway, as they used to say back in the day. The win percentage is 96.55. See, and you'd be like, well, wouldn't the win percentage have to be 100? No, they can get DQ'd. You know what I mean? There can be a DQ in which the champion loses, but they can maintain the championship. Now, in the time that Hulk Hogan ran as champion for 1,474 days, he had 79 title defenses. Roman Reigns in his 1,140 days has had 29 title defenses. Now, would that 300 days add another 50 title defenses to meet Hulk Hogan? Not a chance. I think he's on pace. If he kept the pace he's going to beat Hulk Hogan, he'd probably get to maybe 40 title defenses. So he's well behind the pace of Hulk Hogan, almost in half. Let's see. The most title defenses for Hulk Hogan was 24. For Roman Reigns, the most title defenses in a year was 13, and that was in 2021. In his first full year as champion. The least title defenses in a year was Hulk Hogan's 17 in 1986. And for Roman Reigns, it's 4, which is the year we're currently in. That number is obviously going to increase. And the average days between title defenses, this one's a little fun to watch. 19 for Hogan, which is about once a month, and 37 days for Roman Reigns, which I would love to average the last year in that, because that number, I think, is being skewed heavily by his first year and a half as champion, even up years. But the average match length, by the way, Hulk Hogan's was 9 minutes. Roman Reigns, nearly 21 minutes. So, thank you for these. These are fun stats. Thank you so much. All right. I never just had an image as an email, but sounds good to me. All right. Let's get to another patron. And this is Mohammed. And Mohammed says, "Good evening from London." Oh, I'll just call you Mo. Well, there you go. All right, Mo. I'm 28, I've been a lifelong WWE fan and never watched any other promotion up until AEW came along. As I've come to the realization, I like the Daniel Bryan style wrestling, or quote, professional wrestling, and sometimes I want to break from the sports entertainment side, especially when there's New Day and The Miz. Couldn't agree more. Yes. My question, if you could change one person's ring gear in WWE, who would it be and why? Well, okay, ring gear as in what they wear to the ring during an entrance. You're speaking to their attire when they're competing, I would imagine, correct? So let me think about that. It's good question. Now here's a name that comes to mind that will probably surprise a lot of you. Kevin Owens. I don't hate his gear. That's not the reason. He's one of, it's hard for me to look at the roster. I'm looking at the roster now and thinking, wow, who has awful ring attire? The reason I say Kevin Owens is because I don't want to see him wearing basketball shorts in Waller. The basketball shorts look ridiculous. I think even one of the members of the Street Profits won it at one point too. Not a fan of basketball shorts. They look ridiculous in the ring. They just do. So Kevin Owens, now I know why he wears a t-shirt and basketball shorts. It's really to cover up what WWE would perceive as otherwise an out-of-shape body in their minds. I think Kevin Owens going shirtless, would actually be interesting to watch. Imagine this. This is actually what I think work to get sympathy on Kevin Owens if you want to keep him a babyface and maybe move him into a fun rivalry is, during a match or in an attack, somebody just tears for Kevin Owens. Has anyone ever seen Kevin Owens shirtless in WWE? I'm not saying it to say like, oh my God, we should see how big his stomach is. Like, no. I mean, my God, look, even Ivar, there are some guys that just lay it out there. For Kevin Owens, I think that actually could get some sympathy out of it. If somebody like took his shirt off and then just started like hitting him with a kendo stick or something, because no one's ever done that with Kevin. Everyone leaves Kevin Owens' shirt alone and his basketball shorts. Now it's so crazy with Kevin Owens because his body does things that you wouldn't think it could if you just looked at it objectively and said you didn't know what he did for a profession. You just looked at him. You had no idea who he was. It was just this random body in front of you. And you said, what do you think this person does? Professional wrestling would probably not be on the list of the top 5 things. because he doesn't have a body that that really fits what he can do, which is kind of a credit to him that he's able to do all the things he does. Kevin Owens is a hell of a worker. And I have no issue with, if he wanted to change ring attire, but WWE and their optics and how it would look and all that. It's not going to happen. But if I could, Kevin Owens' ring attire would change. That's me. All right. I'm not, I don't really think about ring attire too much. Although Seth Rollins' entrance attire, as I mentioned earlier, is just, it's egregious. Okay. Where do we want to go next? Let's see. Oh, well, your email, I didn't finish, Mo. For me, even though she's not active in WWE, it would have been Ronda Rousey. Watching her constantly pull at her shorts was getting to me. Keep up the good work. Yeah. I think I couldn't say that better. And by the way, is anyone out there saying, "Oh my God, when's Ronda Rousey coming back? We miss her"? I haven't heard a peep from anyone. And the women's division is better off for it. They just are. And I agree with her attire. You would think that would be like one of the first things she does is try it on, get in like in a ring, work with somebody and see if they can, the attire holds up, it's comfortable. And yet she continues for like the first year she was with WWE and beyond, constantly pulling at her spandex, in her crotch specifically. And it's like, bruh, if it's riding up your ass, change it, fix it, get a bigger size, or just change your attire. It was getting a little insane. I don't know if it was actually annoying her or if it was just a muscle memory reflex thing she did when she didn't know what else to do in the ring. So it's just kind of like a twitch or something that she just does. We all have them, right? All of us do. All of us. I have words on the podcast that I'm sure I oversay, and you're like, man, he just says this too much or does this or makes this noise. Just kind of how we are as humans. But Ronda Rousey in the ring, yeah, I mean, I don't need to see her pulling at her spandex anymore. That's one thing I won't miss. On top of her really awkward promos. All right. So, all right, let's, thank you, Mo. Where are we going? Let's go to Mr. DJ Kuzmo. We haven't heard from him yet. Longtime patron. He says, hello, AEW and podcast and WWE podcast world. It's DJ Kuzmo back at it again on the Mailbag show. So we're going to start out with a quick pet peeve. Why is it all the time that AEW fans and WWE fans are always arguing back and forth about how many views their weekly shows get? In my opinion, the only people that should care about their weekly ratings are Tony Khan for AEW and Triple H for WWE. I just find it childish at times when AEW fans are posting about lower viewerships for NXT and WWE fans are posting about lower viewership for AEW's Dynamite, Rampage, Collision. With that being said, just enjoy pro wrestling and stop this tribalism crap. Easier said than done, though, DJ. Because when people feel a sense of brand loyalty, you can't just talk them out of it and be like, you need to stop being loyal to this brand. And they're like, oh, okay, I'll stop. Not going to happen. Now, I don't think most fans feel this way. It's just the loud minority. So it feels like there's more people than there actually are who are, spitting this stuff back and forth on social media. Most of the people that are silent, which is, I think, the majority, don't engage in this. So it is a way to, I think, for a lot of fans to try to re-engage or reignite the Monday Night Wars that will never be reignited. And also, it is weird that they exactly. They're talking about the ratings as if it personally affects them and it's a personal achievement when their brand, has higher viewership than the opposing brand, as if they were personally responsible for that. And it'd be like, Apple versus Samsung, and saying, well, to a Samsung fan who hates Apple and has like a Samsung Galaxy Note or some other alternative to the iPhone, and you say to them, well, guess what? Apple had $480 million in sales last quarter. What did Samsung have? No one gives a damn, right? You just like the phone. It's like they're trying to pull stats out that they have nothing and no personal attachment to. And they have no personal investment in the company. It's not their company. I would agree. It is a bit weird. But I understand the logic behind it. See, that's what you need to understand. It's not just tribalism. It's people trying to feel like they're a part of something and part of a battle. Like, people love to sometimes pick sides. It's human nature. So, quick question. Did Kevin Owens get drafted to SmackDown, or did he get traded to SmackDown? Because I heard that he got drafted, but then I read most credible sources and it says that Kevin got traded. I'm just a bit confused on the verbiage of getting traded versus getting drafted. Anyway, it's good that Kevin and Sammy are on separate shows because I didn't want to see another Kevin and Sammy feud. Plus, with Kevin on SmackDown, he can probably feud with the Bloodline for Survivor Series, or probably feud with Roman, even though I know he and Roman feuded in 2020, 2021, and 2022. Roman now has a long list of new, old foes in Cody, LA Knight, AJ Styles, John Cena, and Kevin Owens. And don't forget a lurking Karrion Kross, or, of course, Randy Orton. I keep bringing him up because he's going to pop up, I think, sooner than later now. And also Braun Strowman. I think he's drafted to Raw, though. Braun Strowman it's so funny. I haven't heard Braun Strowman's name in so long, but I looked at the roster and I'm like, oh yeah, he's still a part of Raw. So anyway, yeah, no, he got traded. They just said he was drafted as the trade. I think they might have used both. It's the trade. They're not trying to pull a fast one or be sneaky with the language. It was the even trade in their minds for the Jay coming to Raw, Kevin going to SmackDown. It was a trade, even if they said getting drafted. Both are really accurate because Kevin did get drafted, but it was a trade that provoked the draft, if that makes sense. It's one and the same. But good catch, though. That kind of stuff can be sneaky. Lastly, I got to say that Rhea Ripley now challengers that she has to encounter in a fatal 5-way at Crown Jewel. The only issue I have is that none of her opponents are, quote, over with the crowd, and I understand that Rhea is booked as a heel. But for the most part, since she won the women's title at WrestleMania, she's been teetering on a babyface turn, even though she's in a heel group. I don't know if you saw this conundrum with the booking of Rhea Ripley against these challengers of Nia, Raquel, Zoe, and Shayna, even though Rhea is the favorite to win in the fatal 5-way. Anyway, I'll have more to say about that, but I'll save it for next time. DJ signing off. All right. So, DJ, yeah, that's a good point. I think I might have brought this up in my Raw review, that everyone outside of Raquel, and even Raquel is, teetering on heel, this is a largely heel match. I don't hate it. I think that you can have this happen sometimes, and the fans will pick someone that they like the best and go with it, and they'll realize that star power sometimes can supersede the way that WWE's tried to design you to cheer or boo them. So star power can overshadow that. And I think that people will probably generally side with Rhea in this. She's teetering on babyface. Raquel, who's on paper a babyface, is teetering to a heel. And Zoe, people don't know what to feel. So I think Zoe's going to get a very indifferent reaction. They've kind of waffled her back and forth. Shayna Baszler is notorious for, being dominant for like a month and then going into hiding, and you'll see her every 6 months. And Nia Jax, people genuinely don't like. I mean, it's a genuine dislike for Nia. So this is going to be interesting. And as I said, I think it's going to be a pro Rhea crowd. Yes. All right, DJ. Thank you. We'll get to the Veer Mahan report very soon. I promise. All right. I know we got, I believe, let me get to another patron. I think it's Frank, but let me make sure that I get to you there, Frank, if it's you. If it's not, I'm going to be really embarrassed. All right. Yes. Okay. So, Frank, he says, let me talk to you. First of all, sorry, Matt, about your team loss on Sunday. Second, well, yeah, I mean, when you say team loss, you talk about the Giants. I'm more of a Yankees fan than I am a actual, football fan. I engage in football because I do fantasy. And if, the Giants at one point were an exciting team, it feels like the Super Bowl that they won was another generation ago. But, this season is it's a disaster, an absolute disaster. 1-5. unless they, rattle off 4 or 5 wins in a row here, the season's probably over already, and it's not even, which is insane. But if you're a Jets fan, hey, things are going damn well for you. All right. Let's continue here. And you said, second, anyone interested, check out Football Function. I agree. That's hosted by our own SmackDown reviewer, Michael Ritter. Does an excellent job. No better time to check out Football Function than right now in the heart of the NFL season. Also, Paul Heyman, has he ever managed a babyface? Yep, Brock Lesnar. And probably soon to be in the next year, Roman Reigns. Just to name a couple. At one point, he managed The Big Show. And I know in AEW or AEW, ECW, I'd have to look back and see who he managed. He wasn't really a manager back then, though. He more ran the behind the scenes creative. So, those are just a couple. He also at one point managed, who was it? Curtis Axel. Remember that little quick stint with Curtis Axel? I do. So, yeah, it doesn't happen a lot, but the Brock Lesnar babyface run, which he was a part of for a while in the, in the kind of back and forth that Brock Lesnar has done, he was a babyface manager for a while. All right. I feel like Roman Reigns is a joke. Yes, he's gone 1,000 days plus, but I think he only wrestled a quarter of the time, so that doesn't make him a true GOAT. He takes more time off than he wrestles, kind of like Brock. But what's funny is both where their manager was Paul Heyman. And by the way, you said that one day when Kansas City, I couldn't hear Finn Balor speak. It was Wichita, Kansas. Oh, I remember because I'm from there. Well, then thank you for the correction. I knew Kansas was in it, so I guess I get % credit. So I still fail, but 50% is better than 0. So, okay, Wichita, Kansas, I will never forgive you. There. I've just made an enemy out of Wichita, Kansas. All right. Let's go. Where we're going. Let's talk to David. And David says, first of all, I'd like to say that I'm excited to see Brian Pillman Jr. going to NXT. He looks and sounds like his dad. It's actually pretty uncanny. He'll do big things up there. Yeah, I haven't checked that out yet. I should. Thank you for reminding me about Brian Pillman Jr. And if those of you who are young enough don't know who Brian Pillman is, YouTube it. And I don't mean that in an old-timer way. I mean that in a way that's like, he's worth checking out. Trust me. But anyway, now to my complaint. I'm so tired of the PG era nonsense. I don't mind it, but when it starts ruining segments, for example, The Rock getting fans to say a-hole, I couldn't hear the entire segment because every 2 seconds the sound was cut. It was ridiculous. So here's where I'm at. If the WWE is going to be PG, then make it PG. And what's the deal with the PG-14 rating on SmackDown? Shouldn't it be a little lenient, more lenient than Raw? Yes, it feels the same, and I understand that WWE is, but I'll try to condense it and give you the Cliff Notes. I don't think WWE's success is tied to more blood, guts, violence, and sex. I don't. I think it could help with certain storylines. I think it could help with some dialogue, like, for example, last week when Ricochet attacked Shinsuke and he said, "You piece of crap." He might as well have just said, "You big jerk." I mean, yeah, there are certain times where it feels too soft and not like anyone would really speak in real life. I would agree. And certainly, again, you have a higher rating, you are going to have a larger creative envelope to work with. You have more tools to work with because you're not capped with certain things you can say, certain language you can't do, certain storylines, blood, guts, that kind of thing. I do miss out of all the TV 14 content that we used to have, the thing I miss the most is blood, by far. I don't need the sex stuff. I don't need any of the sexuality. In fact, I think even if they had TVM, like, or TVMA for wrestling, which they wouldn't, but that'd be a fun product to watch, wouldn't it? I still wouldn't want any of that because I think the women have come too far to retreat back to that. I don't care how much the creative envelope is open. The sex part of the thing, the whole sexualizing of the women, it never should return. Not in pro wrestling. Okay, never. But the violence and the chair shots, I wish there were chair shots to the head that were somehow safe and they could bring back blading, cutting yourself, blood, right, color. That is what I miss, especially when they have Hell in a Cell matches, TLC matches. All of a sudden, people aren't getting busted open anymore. And it's disappointing. Blood adds so much drama by its presence. by its mere presence. Think about all the crimson masks we've seen over the years with Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, Triple H. You go down the list, Stone Cold, The Rock. I mean, how much would it have added to a lot of Roman matches? Think about when it happens by accident and how like everyone pays attention. Hell, it made Becky Lynch's career at one point with the broken nose from none other than Miss Nia Jax. That catapulted her. She made a t-shirt out of it and sold a bunch of them. So when blood happens and it happens by accident, it's still a blessing as long as the person's okay, right? Like I don't want people to have cracked, skulls and, people are bleeding out, but I'm sitting there going, well, we got some color. No, if there's a safe way to do it, I wish they could. To get back to your question, I can't ever stay on topic, can I? The whole a-hole thing with The Rock, it was very different. I was sitting there going, is something wrong with my feed? It was super annoying. I actually don't like that. I don't like the way The Rock did that. I got to say, it's like, I don't think it was a good look. It's also not really creative. You need the crowd to chant a-hole. I mean, I don't know. It wasn't my thing, but I understand what you're saying. And the PG-14 rating, yeah, that's interesting to me. I think SmackDown at times tries to be both PG and TV-14, or try to push to see how far PG can go without violating their, the FCC or violating their TV rating. I think that they like to push it because if you'll notice, certain words have suddenly gone through at times in WWE. The S word has gone through, and this podcast right now is PG, and so any language you hear on this show is here on WWE TV. So I know you're saying in WWE's geared more towards kids and it's good for business, but you're saying that pre-PG they were filling up seats top to bottom. Well, I don't think that had everything to do with a lot to do with star power, because pre-PG, which is like 2007 and earlier, you're coming out of the ruthless aggression era and the attitude era, in which the star power was off the charts, and we will probably never see that collection of star power again. So, having an all-star roster, regardless of the TV rating, certainly helps. Now, would Stone Cold Steve Austin would have been able to be Stone Cold Steve Austin without the TV rating? Probably not to that extent. But star power above everything else will guide success for the company. And WWE gearing towards kids, it's a smart strategy. If you're trying to make money, why would you not try to create a new generation of wrestling fans? Because now they know that the millennials who watch these golden eras of wrestling with the ruthless aggression and attitude era are having their own kids. And they want to let their kids watch wrestling. But if it was still TV-14, a lot of parents would be like, nah, no, you're not watching that. There's blood, guts, sex, and everything else in it. You're going to watch something else. So WWE's strategy of going PG is smart to create a new generation of fans. And the millennials that were fans that are going to be fans forever, while they may not like the product as much because it's soft and the star power is not what it used to be. And I understand a lot of that. But you're going to more likely allow your child to watch wrestling if the TV rating is PG than TV-14. Also, from a financial standpoint, because don't forget, WWE's a business, guys. They're in it for the dollars. And I know that some people hate that, but it's true. It would behoove them to go PG because we're able to get more sponsorships. A lot of organizations don't want to be affiliated with TV-14 content for whatever reason. If it's the V Foundation or Connor's Cure, you think you're going to want to watch a segment coming off of someone getting pummeled with a chair and bloody all over the ring, or a woman in bra and panties, and then the next segment you're talking about curing childhood cancer? It's not a good look for the Connor's Cure. It's not a good look for a lot of these organizations that are affiliated with WWE. Be a Star, which Be a Star is a I don't know. I have my issues with Be a Star. I don't dislike the message, but anyway, another topic for another day. That's my point, though. They're bringing in more revenue by being PG because they are opening themselves up to more organizations that would be interested in sponsorships with WWE. So, all right. Didn't mean to get all business on you. All right. So my question, though, the WWE went PG and was made in effect after since Vince McMahon was apparently forced to leave the company, would it be possible to go back or at least more loose like before? I've heard that WWE is going back to TV 14, but I feel the rating on SmackDown is just to humor us. That's all I got for now. Have a good one, Matt. Well, thanks, buddy. Thanks, David. So do I think WWE is going to go back to TV 14? Probably not right now. I think they've found a sweet spot where TV PG has expanded in terms of what they allow. Because think about when they first started. Things were super soft. And over the years, TV PG has expanded into allowing, well, we'll allow this word. We'll allow this, right? TV PG still does have some of the elements that TV 14 used to have. It's not going to have the blood and guts and severe violence and all that kind of thing that was, in the language that was brought about in the Attitude Era. So do I think they're going to go back to 14? Probably not in the true sense of the word, at least in the next 5 to 10 years. I don't think so. But I do remember there were talks and rumors and reports that they were going to and thinking about it. But I don't think they will, because they know they have a fan base that's going no matter what TV rating it is. And they're able to build a new generation of fans while the established fans continue to watch it, and also open themselves up to more organizations that would want to work with them and pay them money to put their ads on their show. So, all right. Thanks, David. Let's talk to Mason. And Mason says, let me talk to you. So first, Cody and Jay lose the tag titles. It was one I did not suspect because I didn't think they would drop them after winning them so quick 9 days ago. Agreed. Second, Nakamura and Ricochet was a good match, with the one spot where Ricochet got whipped into the wall and did a backflip, and then he jumped from 30 feet onto Shinsuke, and the security guards were amazing. But why were there even security guards there? Because it's all legal under match rules, right? But that just didn't make sense. So the backflip. Ricochet is a inhuman machine. I mean, he's just impossible. The dude is, you talk about, American Gladiator, or like, he could be a perfect Hollywood stuntman. The problem with Ricochet, of course, though, is that the fans haven't found a way to emotionally connect to him. Fans look at him, for the most part, as kind of this superficial, do cool stuff so I can be entertained. That's unfortunately how most fans view him. And why were there guards? It was really to just break the fall of Ricochet. It was probably local talent that they, just put in security attire, like local wrestlers that they just hired for the night, just to be able to take that bump. I think that's the purpose of it. Finally, what if they had Rollins and Ricochet team up, and then Ricochet betrays Rollins, low blowing him, shooting star, and they have a magic crown jewel where Ricochet brutalizes Seth before the match and then dominates most of it by a backflip over Seth's punching and clowning on him till Seth gets a roll up or something. Yeah, it's possible. But they already set Drew and Seth for a crown jewel, so that's not happening. But that is an interesting proposition there, Mason. I think what I'll take from that is a heel Ricochet. What the hell does that look like? I'm very interested. I think that could really breathe life into his character. All right, Mason, thank you. Let's see. Let's talk to Spencer. And Spencer says, what's up, guys? Big fan of the show. I really just need to point out something that's been bugging me. On this podcast, we always talk about Damien's contract being in the switched briefcase. I must be the only one who pays attention to this, because I haven't seen or heard anyone notice this since he got the new one. WWE posted a clip on YouTube and socials literally showing Finn and Damien switching the contract from the old briefcase to the new. I really doubt they will retcon this and go with the green case angle. Thanks, man. Keep up the hard work. Well, no. I don't dig that deep. I depend on you guys. to come up with this stuff, because I just don't have the time to. I can barely watch the 90-minute version of Raw and SmackDown every week. So that's why I have other people do SmackDown or do NXT and, look at wrestlers' Twitter accounts and feeds and YouTube clips that aren't published on air. So thank you, Spencer. I'll take that at face value. If that's the case, that they took video of the contract actually being switched, then cool. Great. My theory is blown up. I have no problem with it. I was just trying to use it as a way to have finally Finn and Damian blow up, because PJ McDonough, I'm joking, JD, seeing if anyone else out there still wants me to call him PJ. But if JD McDonough did that on purpose or by accident, and then that causes more tension, Damian finally attacks JD, and then we have Finn attack Damian, and they all get beat down. So my theory's out the window, and that's fine. So Spencer, I'll take you at face value. Thank you. All right. Let's see. We got a couple more emails, and then we might have to call it here. Robert from the WWE podcast writes in, and he says, I haven't written in for a while as we are rebranding our podcast to the King's Catalog, talking AEW, WWE, and all major sports. Well, there you go. There's a plug, guys. So it's not out yet, but the King's Catalog is what the podcast is going to be called. So get yourself ready. With that being said, I have a couple of fun questions for you. First, if you could pick any 3 or 4 wrestlers, past or present, to go out and party with, who would you pick? You would pick Austin, Alpha Academy, and Liv Morgan. Ooh. Yeah, so I'm going to stay away from the women. I'm a married man, and I feel like any answer I give is going to get me in trouble, because there's no reason I'd want to go out with a female wrestler other than for one reason, right? So I'm going to put the women aside and not get myself divorced. And I'm going to say Austin for sure. I would also like to go out with Andre the Giant, as crazy as that sounds, because, if you have, if you are a WWE fan, Robert, obviously you are, and you have probably a knowledge base better than mine, but the legendary stories of Andre the Giant drinking are just that. They are legendary. They should be passed down to generations. I mean, we should create hieroglyphics somewhere in a cave, so that if we ever regress as a society back to the point where all the cities are demolished and we're just all out living in, the wilderness, that generations after us will know the drinking that Andre the Giant accomplished as a human race. It's important for us. But in all seriousness, check out Andre the Giant. There's documentaries. I think A&E did a documentary, and I think in one night, this is according, I think it was Ric Flair who was out with him. It was 86 beers or something inhuman. I mean, Andre the Giant I would go out with, because he genuinely seemed, from everyone that ever talked about him, a genuinely good-hearted human being. Obviously, no one would F with you, and he could party like no other. And just to watch him, how much alcohol he could consume would be fascinating. So, Stone Cold, that's one. Andre the Giant's 2. That's a damn good question. I don't know. I'm thinking. I would say I would not say CM Punk. I know that's your next question, because Punk doesn't drink. Ric Flair. I know he's a ladies' man, but I would do Ric Flair in his prime, not 78-year-old Ric Flair. Just to see, how he dealt with the ladies and just sit back and watch. So that's that. And, for good measure, I think Shane McMahon. I think Shane McMahon would be a fun conversation. He seems like there's a lot unknown about Shane, and I'd love to pick his brain. The unknown relationship about his dad, the tension backstage that we hear reports leak out about, the botched Rumble a couple of years ago, that kind of thing. And, if he ever envisioned taking over the company and just drinking and BSing with him, that's what I'd go with. So kind of an odd combination with Stone Cold, Ric Flair, Andre the Giant, and Shane McMahon. All right, let's see. Next, if Punk does show up, I don't think it would be at Survivor Series. It seems too predictable for him to show up. I think we'll see him at the Rumble. If he does pop up, do you think we'll actually get a Punk versus Austin at WrestleMania 40? Okay, So it's been so weird. This isn't just regarding the Punk story. This is regarding any major story. Something comes out that The Rock, he's definitely going to WrestleMania 40. And then all of a sudden, the last week, we're hearing, nope. According to Sports Illustrated, The Rock has not been offered the match, and it probably isn't happening. And it's like, what? What are you talking about, right? These constant conflicting reports are maddening. And let me just say this. Okay. And I took this from JD, another great podcaster out there. If Rock Roman doesn't happen this year, and this report is true, I never want to hear about it again. I don't want to fantasize about it. I don't want to mention it. It's to me, and I know I've said this in the past, and I've only brought it up recently because it's been coming to the forefront. But I never want to hear about it again. And everyone involved with teasing about it in the company, in the business, should be ashamed of themselves. Because this is a match that has been on the docket, waiting to happen years. So if it doesn't happen at 40, I don't ever want to hear about it again until I have definitive proof. And when I say definitive proof, I'm talking about The Rock and Roman actually face to face. I'll be just, I won't lose my mind, but I'm just be so annoyed. And it's just, it's shameful of whoever in WWE is, putting out reports or trying to convince fans, it's going to happen. Or even The Rock himself teasing it. Like, if you'd never had any intention of doing it, bro, just say, I'd love to, if I was still in the ring, this would be something that absolutely I'd love to deliver for the fans, but unfortunately I just can't. My body, projects, whatever. But don't tease us with stuff in TV shows that he teased with Young Rock, and go on to Pat McAfee's podcast and wink and nod that it could happen and talk about how it was supposed to happen at WrestleMania 39. No. No. The Rock himself should be ashamed if this doesn't happen. But so Austin Punk, no, I don't know. That to me should have happened in 2013 when they had their promo with JR. If you remember that, it was a promo for 2K13 or WWE 13. I think at the time it wasn't 2K yet. It was just WWE 13. It could have happened then. And it didn't. I don't think that at this point in Austin's career and really with Punk, it would deliver. But I still want Austin to be there and drop stunners. Let's be honest. Okay, so here's some other matches that you have that you want thoughts on. Charlotte Flair versus Bianca for the Women's Championship. What about Jade Cargill? That to me, I might modify that to put Jade in there. But I like it. Charlotte and Bianca, or how about Rhea and Bianca? They teased them the night after WrestleMania this year. How about Rey Mysterio and Dominic in a hair versus mask? Sure. They could go back to that a year later. Jimmy versus Jay? No. Because I have no interest in any more bloodline crap in terms of intra-family problems. I don't want to see Jimmy versus Jay. I don't want to see Jay versus Solo, Solo versus Jimmy, Roman versus Jimmy and Jay, Roman versus Solo and Jay. I don't care about any of the damn combinations. I don't want to see it or hear about it for a long time. No, sorry. CM Punk versus Austin, we just talked about. Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens for the U.S. Championship. Sure. I think that'd be a fun combo. Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill versus Becky Lynch for the Women's World Championship. I have no issue with this. I mean, Jade versus Charlotte, Jade versus Bianca. The issue would be to me is, do you want Jade in a more prominent spotlight where it's one-on-one instead of being one of three? One-on-one is a much different animal than being part of a three-way. Gunther versus Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. No. The reason I say that is I think Gunther versus Brock, and this is only because I think it's going to happen, maybe not how I would book it, but Gunther versus Brock Lesnar is apparently in the early stages. So Gunther versus Brock could be fun, but also would I want Gunther to be world champion? Yes. But I don't know if Seth Rollins is going to last that long. I think Drew might take it first. Let's see. Roman versus Cody for the Undisputed Championship. Hurts my soul. Hurts my soul, man. This slot with Roman versus somebody at WrestleMania 40 is fascinating because there are so many moving pieces. I think I wouldn't do this. But what do I think WWE would do is, yeah, sure, they could go this way. And then Cody has a very high chance of winning this time. Very high chance. If there's no Rock, let's pretend Rock is out of the equation. Cody Rhodes is a front runner to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40. Yes, and a very high chance to win. Like 90% and higher to win that match. Because they would not do that to Cody again. And he could finish his story. It's WrestleMania 40. Yeehaw. You could also do Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins if there's a trade. That hasn't yet happened, which is bizarre. You could do Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton, which I don't think they would do because Randy Orton is... no, that probably wouldn't happen. LA Knight is possible if he wins the Rumble. So here's what I tell fans is, if you want LA Knight in the main event, you need to force him there like they did with Daniel Bryan. He's going to get a title match at Crown Jewel, presumably. But in order to get him all the way to WrestleMania where he has a real chance of winning the belt, fans need to go to another level of support for him. That's all I have. I'll try to write him more often. I hope everyone has a good day, and don't forget to keep an eye out for the King's catalog. Well, thank you, Robert. Okay, one more email. Let's do it. All right, this is Thomas, and he says, hello, Matt and WWE World. Just wanted to drop by and quick email and clarify the contract inside Damien's briefcase. Here we go. So you're showing us, again, that's swapping over. Well, thank you. Also, did you know Carlito has been a local talent here in Canada for quite a while? He's so very happy to see him make it back to WWE. I see the flyer. Very cool. Also, I had a question. Personally, I don't want to see a Rock-Roman match at Mania as Rock isn't in his prime and Roman just needs to lose the belt. I want it to be Cody versus Roman for the title. Yes, I'm a Cody fan. So in your eyes specifically, or outside specifically just the Tribal Chief title, what is the selling point of Rock-Roman that would make it a WrestleMania 40 main event story? Thank you. Keep up the great content. Well, I mean, just star power. The fact that they're cousins. The fact that this has roots all the way back to WrestleMania or Royal Rumble 2015, which by the way was also in Philly. If you recall, The Rock came out to assist Roman Reigns when he was getting double teamed in the Royal Rumble from Kane and Big Show. The Rock came out to make the save, and the people booed The Rock because they didn't want Roman that badly. It backfired. That's a story right there. I mean, there really isn't much to tell. This is not a complicated story. Even if they weren't cousins and weren't related, Roman's a big star. The Rock's a big star. Is that not enough? I mean, The Rock he's not a big star. He's a worldwide legendary star. But you add in the fact that there's actually history there with the bloodline and they're actually cousins, and the history in Philly in 2015. The rumors and all the speculation has been building. I think they would match up well together style-wise, in-ring. There's a lot there. You could be the head of the table, respect of the family. It gets immediately personal. I mean, you don't need to overcomplicate it. That's a selling point, and that would do just fine. So, well, yeah, but ultimately, do I think Cody and Roman is more likely at this point? Yeah. So, yeah, enjoy it. Thank you, Tom. Okay. As promised, we're a little past mark now. I got through all the emails, most of them, but I did not get to a whole lot of voicemails outside of the one at the beginning of the show. But here's what I'll do. I'll play one more, and only because he's a patron. I'm going to play DJ Kuzmos. And then after that, I'm going to pick up anyone's voicemail that didn't get on this show, and I will do it either in a part 2 or the weekend review on Sunday. And I'll play it there. So you guys still get your voices heard. But let's get DJ, and then the rest of the voicemails, again, will be saved for a very near future podcast. So let's do it.
Hello, WWE podcast world. This is DJ Kuzma back at it again on your Mailbag show. Recording to you live on another Wednesday morning, on another cold, brisk, chilly Wednesday morning. It's hoodie season, so get your hoodies. But before we get to the Veer Mahan Report, before we get to the Veer Mahan Report, I gotta talk about my New York Football Giants. I don't give a damn what the refs say. I don't give a damn what those announcers say. They got robbed. My New York Football Giants got robbed. We saw it clearly. That was a pass interference in the end zone. They were at the 1 yard line. The 1 yard line. They could have won the game if it wasn't for that no call. If they could have got that opportunity to get that pass interference on the Buffalo's defense, we could have ran for that 1 yard touchdown to win the game. But no, they did not call it, and now we're now suffering at a record of 1-5. But that's neither here or there. This is not a football podcast. But before we get to the Veer Mahan Report, I got to give a shout-outs to my guy, Michael Ritter, and the Football Function podcast. They have celebrated their 400th episode in the podcasting world. So shout-out to Michael Ritter, shout-out to Terry, shout-out to Double J, shout-out to Cousin Mike, shout-out also to everybody that's a part of this beloved football podcast. That's right, the NFL season is still in swing, and you want to get your listen on with the Football Function podcast, as they have now celebrated their 400th episode. Now let's get to the Veer Mahan Report. Now the Veer Mahan Report took place this past Monday night on Monday Night Raw, live. That's right, live from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And wait a minute, after months and months, we haven't seen the Indian Share. They have finally appeared in a backstage segment. We got to see none other than Jinder Mahal, none other than Sangha, and my guy, Veer Mahan, talking to Adam Pearce. Jinder Mahal talking to Adam Pearce about some sort of business that, try to get these guys maybe in a tag team match, maybe to have a match at Crown Jewel this coming November. Whatever the case may be, it's about time that my guys, the Indian Share, are finally on Monday Night Raw. Well, now, with that being said, this is your guy, DJ Kuzmo. Be kind to one another. Stay see my friends, and peace.
All right, DJ, good way to end the show here. So, yeah, I know what to say about the Giants, man. Yeah, it's not a football show, but a lot of wrestling fans are football fans, so I don't think it's totally out of the realm of or our scope of our discussion here. And that was a clear pass interference. But you know what? Sometimes the ref breaks your way. Sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes the ball bounces your way, and sometimes it doesn't. I don't like when the referee or the umpire or whatever, the official, is the one to be the deciding factor in who wins and loses. But you know what? Last year, the Giants had everything break the right way. They were able to steal games, very close games. They were coached brilliantly. I don't know what the hell's going on this year. So, that happens. I don't think the refs were being impartial or being partial. It just happens. It's bad timing. It was clearly pass interference. Yes. Would that have changed things? Probably. And, but would really a 2-4 team be different than a 1-5 team at this point? With the Commanders having a better than expected record. They faced them this week, and then they faced the Jets, by the way, so that'll be a massive game, Giants and Jets in 2 weeks. And then, the Cowboys continue to win. The Eagles are 5-1. So outside of a potential wild card, they probably aren't going anywhere in the division at 2-4 versus 1-5 anyway. And as I said at the beginning, unless they go off on like a 4 or 5-1 run, streak here to get them back to 500, their season's dead. They can probably afford 1 or 2 more losses before even the wild card is out of reach. That's how close they are. That's how bad the season has already gotten. It feels like we might as well just go back to training camp, go back to winter and restart in 24. So, yeah, it's a horrific season. And they can't. They're so inept from an offensive line standpoint. I don't care who you are. If you're Daniel Jones in the backfield, you have no time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.